Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to some more Warforge. And today we're going to be talking about the most recent news, an article update that we've seen, which dropped this morning. And I gotta say, I'm pretty happy to see this. With BJ and I both putting out videos about kind of our concerns and the state of Warpforge in terms of quality. This does answer some of those questions. Some of them are still a little bit unclear. We also have more of a glimpse into what the kind of quote-unquote new content is likely for June, and that they're more focusing on whatever, newer and shinier things, whether that's cards or expansions or what have you, they're focusing more on July and not so much anything for this month. But this is a welcome article for sure. And I think this is a good time for Warforge or for EG or, the powers that be, whoever they are, to take a little bit of a step back, put the brakes on in terms of like the content machine, new faction, new raid, new, battle pass, all of that stuff, and kind of focus on, what the players are asking for. And also a little bit of an interesting twist where we're looking at some brand new cosmetics for Abaddon. If you'd like to see more Warpforge content, and it sounds like they have some interesting things planned for July. Don't know exactly what they are. Then feel free to show your support for the channel. But other than that, let's just dive in. I am really happy to see first things first of the new changes are bug fixes. Emperor's Children have had a slew of bugs that have gone unaddressed for a month. So I think that's been really frustrating for players. Emperor's Children, like I said in my last video, and I've been working on a Kefriel video, but frankly, it's just hard for me to recommend that deck, but maybe I'll still put that build out there. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see. There have just been so many issues with this release, so I am happy to see them focus on this. Didn't know about this first one, Ecstasy, having some sort of issue with Hallowed Martyrs. With Avenging Zeal, I was curious about this. So it now will reduce its own cost when stratagems trigger their codex effects. So, Devastator Doctrine, Assault Doctrine. Now we have Death from Above that triggers that as well. And so that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure people are sick of Avenging Zeal after Varro being the absolute terror that he has been this season. I like this change, though, because although it's still probably inherently better to build a deck around Avenging Zeal that looks like what we're seeing with Varro now, what this does open up is the idea that you can play Avenging Zeal, maybe in Uriel or in, not just some of the more card advantage leaders, which is Varro and Calgar, but now it might be possible to play it in Titus, in Lotharius, right? Lotharius gets like no love these days anymore, which is sad because he's a pretty epic warlord for the faction. And so now playing those mix of spells that codex means that you can still get away with playing Avenging Zeal. So Avenging Zeal stock going further and further up, which I know some players are probably not too happy to see. But this does make sense, right? Like, I was curious as to why those codex triggers didn't count for Avenging Zeal. And then what do we got? Damage from Lucius's ability will now correctly destroy remnants before they are revived. Okay, so that makes sense. Hunter Riggs Rally is now skipped if there are no available slots on the enemy side. That's the one that pulled, like, harpoons something from your hand. Makes sense. Emperor's Children practice deck description is now correctly displayed. Great. Alright, so Veldra's ability now triggers consistently before resolving elixir effects. So if this works the way that it should, it means that every time you target, the attack happens first, right? So even if I want to slap that armor on Veldras, he's going to hit and then get the armor. So he'll go down to 2 health, then get the armor. This also means that you can start buffing him with a heal buff, right? The +2 healing. So he'll hit first, go down to 2 health, then the heal triggers, goes back up to 4 health. So hopefully this works as intended. There was some inconsistencies with elixirs generated like by a unit versus by other cards. So I'm curious to see if that actually is fully fixed. But this does mean, like, if this is working as intended, it should be the same thing across the board, right? And so I guess they were able to kind of target that specific issue with elixirs. Rapid Evisceration now puts an infractor in play if it kills a friendly troop. You basically will never do this, from my experience, but this is nice. It operates the same way as the Gene Stealer's deal 2 damage stratagem. If you kill your own, ambush creature to trigger ambush, then it puts a, I'm thinking of poison supply. Sabotage, thank you. Still waking up here, folks. Sorry, I am having my coffee. You do actually get the effect, so this makes sense. That's consistent. Endless Servitude, finally, I was wondering about this. Endless Servitude now correctly sets the current health of a troop at 1, instead of setting its maximum health, making it able to heal afterward. So this, one of the interactions that I was trying is using Endless Servitude with the 5-drop that gets to attack after it hits a certain troop. So when you spawn that, it's just going to attack. That doesn't really matter. But what this does matter for are the 3-drop ecstasy, which will trigger up now to, I think, 2 with the Noise Marine. And then for the Rhino, that will trigger the effect, but then you can heal it up even more afterward and try and get more bang for your buck. I still think that the faction as a whole is like too weak for these small changes to really matter, but there was no reason why the maximum health should just be 1. So I'm glad they addressed that. All right, what else we got? And then we'll get into some other spicy stuff. Troops with abilities that trigger automatic attacks, such as the Unleashed Trample Squig, will no longer trigger abilities if they're stunned. Thank you. This very sensible change. Things that are stunned shouldn't be acting. Makes a ton of sense. And then Flawless Blade Champion, sorry, that's the 5-drop that I always forget the name, will now trigger its ability once instead of indefinitely until the troop dies. Yes, we suffered that one too. I like to see a little bit of self-awareness from the powers that be about this. Okay, so I'm sure there might be other problematic interactions. I think, unfortunately, again, the release felt kind of pushed. Whether that was the case or not, we still don't have voiceovers. Yes, we'll talk about that in this article too. But it's nice to see. I really thought we were going to see a slew of bug fixes in the balance patch on, what was it, the 5th? So like nearly 3 weeks ago, and there were 0. And I was like, ooh, that's probably not a good sign either. But they got to it, and just really good to see some. This also is what I would say quality of life, right? Like, the game should operate the way that it does. I talked about that in my I'm worried about Warpforge video, and if you haven't seen that, feel free to check that out. I think that was a good summation of some of the things that are talked about in this article today, which is really exciting to see. So other than that, I think we can move on, but just really happy to see these types of quality of life updates, so that we can hop back in and know exactly what the units are supposed to do. Okay, and this is something that I wondered if we would see in Warpforge, and I'm not sure if this was like something that is going to continue. I imagine it will, and I will say overall, just the idea of having cosmetics for this game, I think, is a good thing, right? Like, I would rather them monetize that, so people who want to spend money on a cool skin for Abaddon, and this is the art on the new Abaddon, which is pretty sweet, spend their money, right? And not make people spend money on actual cards to play the game. Now, we don't know if that's going to change, right? We don't know if battle passes are going away or the vault is going away. I am assuming not. I'm assuming they're here to stay, and that maybe they will change some of the monetizing properties of it, or, still allow people to access the cards, but just pay for extra goodies or something like that. But I think this new feature, which they're calling Styles, is probably a healthier version of monetizing for the game. So let's talk about what is happening here. We'll also talk prices as well, because I think that's important. So Abaddon the Despoiler is the warlord chosen to premiere this feature with a brand new, I guess this is cell shaded. I'm not familiar with this word. Style, ready to finish a task started millennia ago, but more will be coming in the future. Okay, right. I actually, this is kind of my second time reading through this. I sped through this this morning when I woke up. Okay, so this will be in the game moving forward, and I will be happy to see that for some of my favorite warlords, which doesn't really include Abaddon, so I'm going to miss out on that for now. You can head to the shop, collect this new cosmetic, exchange for gold. There are 2 options available. So I'm going to throw up the graphics for the different things that you'll see when you open the game today. So there's a basic offer featuring Abaddon's cel-shaded style and 5 booster packs. I believe this, with the gold offer that they have currently, is $10, at least for me in the US. And then the full bundle, which is 20 packs, plus the style and a title, which I don't think most people care about, but an avatar and a card back. I believe for the gold bundle here, this ends up being $24, $25 for the US. For 20 packs, a card back, an avatar, title, although I think that is less consequential, and the new cosmetic, that is what I would call a reasonable deal. We've seen the 24 pack of Emperor's Children on release was the $50 value. This is giving you 4 less packs, but a card back, which I think a lot of people really do care about. That's one of the more sought after cosmetics. An avatar, which is kind of secondary to that, title, but probably the worst. And then this completely new style for $25. This is more reasonable. $10 for basically just the cosmetic plus a couple packs, or $25 for 20 packs plus the different cosmetics. That makes sense to me. I'm happy to see this sort of pricing for what they're putting out. So I don't know if that was a consideration in the model of like, hey, we're getting some negative feedback about how much the battle pass costs or how much some of these other card packages cost, but these $10 for a skin, I think in this day and age is pretty reasonable. And adding an additional $15 to essentially get 20 packs, a card back, and an avatar and a title on top of that, also seems extremely reasonable to me. So that's good to see here. Please note that a style cosmetic cannot act as a warlord alone. Right, so this is just saying you're going to have Abaddon to use the skin, so that will prevent some players from getting it. But I like what they add here. So acquiring a style does not unlock the base form of the warlord, but it will unlock the possibility to collect it from your collection menu in exchange for 50% of its regular crystal price. So for Mr. Abaddon, who is a legendary in this game, that would usually cost you 6,000 crystals. It's now going to cost you 3,000. This is what I love to see. This sort of like consideration for players that are newer, have smaller collections, who are, again, like people who are going to drop money on this game are going to drop money on this game. What you want to get is the people who are not monetarily invested in the game to think about, or feel that they're being considered. Right, so I would really like to see any changes in the spirit of this. I think this is really good press for them. This is exactly what new players and skeptics alike want to see, is consideration for those who have less. And this just feels like a really nice, for the greater good, very in line with the Tau sort of change. So I would say, like, generally, I think this new feature is a win from my perspective. I think if they keep the pricing model roughly the same, that's also a really good look. And this ability to then get that card for a 50% crystal discount. We don't really think about crystals that. I'll speak for myself. I don't think about crystals that much because I've been playing the game for 2 years, and I've accrued a lot of crystals. And I played a ton of games, and so I don't often think about how precious this currency can be. But especially when you first start out, and before you're, really, winning quite a bit or making quite a bit of progress, like crystals are very important, right? Those do give you access to cards you could not access before. So, right, this is just a great change coupled with a new rollout of styles, which I'm excited to see. To go back up to the art here, pretty sweet. I would like to see that for other warlords, of course. And we'll see. Maybe I will, if I feel like the product is good and the game's in a good spot, maybe I will invest in that. And for those of you who are the Abaddon enjoyers, then you guys get the first crack at it. So very, very interesting and I think exciting change for Warpforge. Okay, let's talk about something that, frankly, I had not considered. And I'd be really interested, especially, I mean, throughout all my videos, to hear what your comments are. But this battle camera feature change is quite interesting. I'm going to throw up the little screenshots I took this morning, just of like the zoomed in perspective, the medium perspective, and the fully out perspective. Yeah, let's take a look. So, new feature, battle camera. We are very proud of the art team has been able to capture each faction's personality and theme in the game in awesome battle arenas. Wanting to showcase how great they look in the game, however, had an unfortunate side effect on the game's general legibility, particularly on small screen devices. So I've played a bit on my phone. I actually find that this game is pretty sweet on the phone compared to other phone card games I've played. But I guess they've also gotten feedback about that. I'm interested to hear in the comments if you have been talking about that. So to improve that, there's the battle camera feature. And so there will be the little green thing you can click, I think, up to 2 times. This feature will be enabled by default mobile devices and can be enabled on PC as well. And if it is enabled, the camera will automatically zoom in and out to showcase the current number of units in a battle as best as possible. Players would be able to zoom in and out manually using touchscreen controls or the mouse wheel. For me, I was trying it through Steam this morning. While zoomed in, players can return the camera to its default position by pressing the in-game button. This is the first step we're taking to improve the feel of the game. Stay tuned for more in the future. So I have some high hopes, whether this allows for potential tournament play, whether this lets you spectate your buddies, or maybe you want to see like a high-level match going on and sort of learn from them or something like that. If we can do changes around the camera or around kind of the in-game UI and accessibility, I hope that when they say stay tuned for more in the future, that's what they could be referring to. Obviously, pure speculation here, right? But that would definitely be a huge boon for the game. I wasn't expecting any sort of changes around this sort of thing, so definitely hats off to to the powers that be. I really hope that they are thinking about spectator mode. Or being able to spectate matches. I really think that is something that could help put this game a little bit higher, just into the higher quality when it comes to card games. So, an interesting and unexpected change. Okay, to close things out, we've got something that I'm very happy to see. So, achievements and more space in the shop. So we're going to get a bunch of achievements when you come in for different progress and stuff like that. I'm sure people are interested in this. This is never something I've been terribly interested in, but I guess if you're trying to collect all the cards and stuff like that, that's something that people can get hype about. But here is where the meat of it is. With the increasing number of cards in the game, yes, doubling the number of factions since a year ago, it has become increasingly difficult to have a specific card appear in the shop. We are aware that this can be an issue for some users and have it on our radar to further investigate, but for the time being, we will increase the number of slots in the in-game card shop to 10. That's all they say about this. I'm glad they're thinking about it. This is something that is often talked about by players. I would extend the use of the phrase some users to many users, but I'm glad that they're talking about this and that they're kind of early fix, although I would have loved to see a shop with maybe 12 cards instead of 10. I'm not sure why we couldn't make it for the opportunity to have literally almost, like every single faction have a card in the shop that week. But this is something, right? Like I can't ask for perfection. I can just ask for improvement. So that's good to see. That is a good quality of life update. Like I said, I had a whole spiel in my video about the shop, and how old and clunky and just unhelpful it feels. And also, I think they needed to take a look at it, because after the Orc expansion, Orc cards just were not in the shop at all. I think I got Mazrog like 2 weeks ago or something like that, right? During some of the Emperor's Children stuff. So it's just like things have slowed, things have become kind of like not, fluid when it comes to some of these new content releases, because so much focus has been get those new cards out, get the new battle pass out, all that sort of stuff, that these sorts of things have fallen to the wayside, and it's good to see that they understand that that needs to change as well. As we get toward the end of the article here, we see the question that many people have been asking: what's missing? The Emperor's Children troop voiceovers. At the time of the faction's release, we made a statement. Yes, they did, which was important. I'm glad that they did do that. While we're able to give voice to the full roster of Emperor's Children warlords, the faction troops are still silent. Fortunately, this issue that prevented us from giving them voice lines still persists. So again, we still have, is this licensing issue? Is this a game UI coding issue? We have no idea. The team has greatly enjoyed working on such a charismatic faction, and we are working to finally bring the Emperor's Children the praise and attention they deserve while we work on what's next for Warpforge. We appreciate your patience. Not much to say here, right? They're not going to tell us what the issue is, or when it's expected to return, or any of that. It's hard for me not to be skeptical that this is a full change or shift. This signals that they know it's an issue and that they feel like it's potentially solvable. So maybe I should not have been as doom and gloom about like, well, I don't know if we're getting voiceovers anymore. Which I don't know if I said that, but that's probably a bit of the tone that I was putting out there in my last video. I really hope this is true. I really hope they're working on this and that this is solvable. I think one of the biggest attractions to this game was the enrichment of like the lore, the voice lines, the lore text, just the immersion that you get into like feeling like you are playing in the Warhammer 40k universe. And it would be a shame if voiceovers somehow got axed from the game. So this tells me that they know it's a big issue. That's why they put out that statement, which I do think was a good thing for them to do. They still don't have a solution, which is definitely, concerning. Really wondering what is holding that up. But when they say we appreciate your patience while we solve this issue, then I'm going to take their word for it that they are working on it and they intend to solve it. And so maybe we will see a change in the future. And last but not least, we have an interesting image here and what's next, which I don't know if this is like teasing we're working on Eldar stuff for the Warp Spider here. And the art, I don't know if I really saw the full art for this card. It looks so cool. What's next? Warhammer 40,000 Warforged has grown a lot in terms of content, that's for sure. As we stated at the start of this web post, the game now has doubled the number of factions available when it started, added more characters and troops and other content drops, that's for sure, and there's so many more left to come. This is good. I mean, it's hard for me not to be like, hey, there are red flags and this is where the game is going. And some of those things are still going to persist, but it does just sort of help us feel that things are moving forward when we see statements like this. While making new factions available in the game is awesome, new content is not the only way we want to make Warforged grow. Boom. It's the sort of sentence that I want to see. Content is important, but it has gotten to the point where the content rollouts are not really doing what I think they should be doing, like to really benefit the game, and the quality of the game has gone down. And so this is an acknowledgement, I feel, of that. We will share more details of what's coming during the first week of July. And thank you for putting this in here too, right? There's sort of this thing where, we'll get a balance update, right? Or we'll get some teasers, but there's like very little indication of when things are starting to happen. And maybe this means we'll get a roadmap at some point in the near future too. Please be working on that. It is just really important for content creators and really important for being able to hype up the game that we all love. And so they're going to share those details the first week of July. And as long as they stick to this timeline, this is just such a good thing to do, right? Because we know, okay, this week we're talking about these changes. Next week is July, the first week of July, right? So we should be getting other, updates and stuff to get excited about next week. So that's really good to hear. Until then, sharpen your blades, prepare for the final weeks of the current rank season, which I think everyone is very, very, very tired of. This is what I want to be hearing. I mean, I want to be hearing that, there's obviously talking about their level of progress, but also acknowledging that like the game is not just about putting out more and more and more and more stuff. It's also about increasing the quality and the things that the community is asking for as well, because it's a small game and it's a small community. So if you're not even really able to harness that, it's going to be a big long-term problem. So this definitely, with some closing thoughts here, restores a little bit of faith, I think, for me, very genuinely. I definitely wanted to get a video out to, give some kudos to the powers that be for this game, for Warforge. That it seems like they're acknowledging some stuff and listening, and put out a fairly lengthy article with a lot of different things to be excited about that seem more in line with what the average player does want to see, and what even some of the content creators like myself who really love this game want to see. So but those are my thoughts. I really want to hear from all of you in the comments below, so definitely let me know what you're thinking, what you like, what you dislike, and why, which is the most important thing, because I'm more interested in the reasons. And then we should be gearing up to maybe hear about, even if it's not like a particular faction or content next week, it sounds like they've got some stuff to let us know about. So other than that, as always, I will see you guys in the next one.